Start. Dim.
Hello again, this is BGFH. Welcome back to Illegally Cited, and I'm back here for another iOS accessibility video. So far, we've really started looking at some accessibility features of iOS, just a general accessibility overview. Showed you some of the low vision stuff, and then I started getting into using the basics of VoiceOver. I should mention that these aren't necessarily a whole comprehensive, every command, every gesture, every possible thing that you can do. But I do want to give you guys at least a rough idea of what is out there, what it can and can't do, where I have problems, where I think it works very well, and then just give you some of the key gestures and commands and how and when they can be helpful. Because sometimes that's all some people need is to get up and running. It's just, I don't really even know how to interact with this. But once you learn a few key gestures, it's pretty intuitive actually on iOS. I learned it a lot faster than I thought I would. But once you have a couple of these basic gestures down, it actually works pretty well. So today I want to show you a little bit more of a couple of other gestures and a couple of other tasks, as it were. So I am going to double tap my home button.
App switcher. Mail.
So
One new item.
when I double tap my
Double
home
tap
button,
to open.
where my dock would normally be, or the bottom part of my open application, I now have an app switcher. This is think of it if you're a Windows user, think about it like doing the Alt Tab, switching between open applications or open programs. And that's exactly what it does. It allows me to switch between several or all of my open apps that are running. So right now I have actually 4 pages of apps on the task switcher, but not all of them are apps. So I'm actually starting out on page 3, I think it said. And if I move my finger across the bottom,
Mail. One new item.
Mail. Oh.
Messages.
Messages.
5 new items.
That's for text.
Double tap to
texting
open.
and stuff.
Settings.
Settings.
Safari.
Safari.
Double tap to open.
Just like my home screen, I can
Page 4 of 4. App Store.
I can use
Double tap to open.
my 3-finger kind of swipe gesture. I can swipe left or right with 3 fingers, and I can switch between all of my different screens on the task switcher. So now I'm going to go back to the left.
Page 3 of 4. Page 2 of 4.
So now the first couple of pages are Apple-specific quick controls, as it were. So right on the bottom left here,
Rotation lock. Unlocked. Button.
rotation lock, that's where if I'm mainly using a lot of applications in portrait like I am right now, I can actually just keep it that way. I can make it so even if I rotate my screen or kind of jostle it around a little bit, it'll stay there. Or if I'm playing a game or watching a movie and I want it to stay in landscape for a while, I can also do that. Then you have a couple of multimedia controls.
Previous track. Play. Next track. Button.
Pretty self-explanatory.
Music.
This opens.
Double tap to open.
That opens the like iTunes, the music app that is built into iOS. I don't use that because I don't use iTunes for my music, so we're just going to ignore that for now. If I go
Volume.
to the left
62%.
one more page, now we're on page 1, and what we have here is we have a volume control. Now keep in mind, in iOS there are multiple volume controls. You have the master volume for the overall sound of your device. You have your ringer volume, which is for your ringers and alert, phone ringer and your alerts and things like that. Then you have a VoiceOver volume. And one of the oddities that I found on multiple of my devices I've tried it on, if you're using Siri, that's the thing you always hear advertised, where you can talk to your phone, ask it questions, send text messages, dictate, short little things like that. Anytime I'm using Siri to dictate or to do a task, if I use it a couple times, what seems to happen is, for whatever reason, it loves to mute or lower my ringer volume very low. So I'll come back and I may not hear my phone ring the next couple times if I forget to check the volume control, because for some stupid reason it decides that I'm just going to mute or lower your volume to the point where you can barely hear it. If anyone knows why that is or how to fix it or anything about that, make it stop. Please definitely post a comment down below, because I would like for it not to do that anymore. So that's a little bit about the volume control. And then we have
AirPlay button.
AirPlay. I've never used this because I don't have an Apple TV. If I had an Apple TV hooked up to my HD TV, Apple TV is basically like a little box that you can play a lot of media, like your Netflix and Amazon Video and your iTunes videos and music, and there's a bunch of apps for it and things like that. But with AirPlay, I can, if I have an Apple TV, I can wirelessly basically beam my iPhone content or iPad or whatever I'm using. I can beam that on to my Apple TV, and then it'll show up on my big screen. So that can be useful. But I've never done it because I don't have a Apple TV. So that is the task switcher. While we're in the task switcher,
Page 2 of 4.
I want to show you
Page 3 of 4.
I want to show you another gesture that can come in handy, and something you may want to do from time to time. They say that you really don't have to close apps, but I contend otherwise, especially when certain other apps are running. Things do seem to work a little better at times, I've noticed. So you can, to close an app, not just hide it onto this task switcher. What you do is you double tap home, you go into the task switcher like I am in here.
Messages.
Let's
5
say-
new items.
Let's say that I
Double tap
wanted
to open.
Okay, let's say that I wanted to close the Messages app. So what I do is, it's highlighted now. If I double tap and hold,
Editing apps.
you hear it go doo-doo-doo, and then it said editing apps. So now I've switched modes essentially for VoiceOver. This is a VoiceOver specific feature. And now what I do is if I touch the
Messages. 5 new items. Double tap to delete.
so it's a little bit misleading. It says double tap to delete. That doesn't mean I'm going to delete the app. All that means is that I'm going to delete it from the task switcher. Maybe they could reword that to like double tap to end task or something like that. But it doesn't mean to delete in this case. So I'm going to double tap, and instead of opening it,
Settings.
it goes away. Let's double tap that too. We'll close that for now. There we go.
Safari.
And you hear the pop. If you can visually see the screen, those things are now gone. If I want to, let's say I want to not delete something else, and now I want to open something,
Safari.
I can just hit my home button once, and now it basically goes out of deleting or editing mode. Now, if I wasn't using VoiceOver, and if I was just using the vanilla iPhone, no accessibility, or even if I was using Zoom, I can still go into editing mode a little bit differently. And the way I would do that, instead of having to double tap and hold, I would just touch or tap one of these icons and I would hold. So tap once and hold. And then you'll notice, if you can see visually, let me go in and edit apps again.
Safari. Double tap to editing apps.
You notice that there's a
Safari.
little icon now above each of these apps. And if you can see well enough to do that, you can just tap that little, I think it's an X, I can't even really see it myself. I can tell something is there, but I can't see it. But if you can see that, you just tap that, it goes away. And then just like if VoiceOver is on, I hit home once.
Safari.
And there we go. Go away. So I hit home again. Now we're back at the home screen. Now the same thing can apply for, I'm going to make things a little bit more complicated here, but I'm going to show you another double tap and hold gesture with VoiceOver. So I'm going to
Page
go
2
to
of 4.
page
Blindness folder. 14 apps.
2 of 4 here.
Double tap to open. CapT. XRAC. Food folder.
So here
5
we got
apps.
our kind of familiar icons that we've had before. I can drag something, I can drag an item over something else. And you notice I have folders on my home screens a lot. I believe in folders to keep apps categorized and organized. Otherwise, I'd have a bazillion home screens. So what I can do, let's say that I want to combine these two items in the bottom here, the
XRAC.
XREC
CapT.
CapT.
Double tap to open.
And that's a app I may or may not cover more in the future. I'm still kind of working out that one. So let's say I'm going to combine those and make a folder out of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to double tap and hold
CapT.
CapT.
Double tap to moving CapT.
Now it says
Row 5,
moving
column
CapT. I'm keeping my finger held down. If I move slightly to the left
3. On XRAC.
on XREC,
Creating productivity folder.
I let
Opening
go.
Productivity folder.
and it says creating productivity folder. Now, here's another example of how I can then use what we've learned so far, some of the keyboard stuff, how to double tap and how to rename. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tap,
Folder name. Productivity. Text field.
okay,
Double tap to edit.
I will do that, double tap.
Folder name. Text field. Is editing.
I don't want to call it productivity.
Productivity selected.
I'm just going to delete that, so I'm going to move my finger across the bottom of this keyboard with our touch typing mode here.
Delete.
Delete.
Selection deleted.
Selection deleted. It's just like Windows when you tab through like a new dialog box and oftentimes it highlights everything. So I'm just going to call this
Capital D. W. E. E. M. N. O. O.
See, I've just gotten the muscle memory. I can't see that really at all, but I'm so used to using the keyboard that I just go with it.
Space. Done.
Done.
CapT.
Now I can hit the home button. Pops me out of editing mode again. Now if I hit home again, I still see my folders here, or my icons
Closing
in my
demo
folder.
Blindness folder.
Now I
14
have,
apps.
if I move my finger to
Double
where
tap to
the XREP app used to be,
Food folder. Demo folder. 2 apps.
demo folder.
Double tap to open.
And just like anything else, it says double tap to open.
Opening demo folder. Demo.
And let's go back into our
Open. XRAC.
XREC app.
Double tap to open.
I can either open it through the task switcher, or if I have an app just ready on the dock, or, you know, in this case I'm looking right at it, so I can just open it up and it'll be
XRAC.
there.
Ready.
So those are some other just quick iOS gestures that will help you get around and organize and keep your iOS device running a little better. I typically recommend that people do go through, especially if they've been opening a lot of different apps, maybe trying a few different things. I do recommend that people do periodically go through and kill some of those apps. They say you don't have to, but I sometimes contend otherwise. So those are some other gestures I think that should be very helpful in getting around your device and maybe organizing your home screens a little bit. And with that, I'm going to wrap it up here and we'll start another video. I will see you guys next time.
Stop.